Hey there, and welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're joining us today because we're about to embark on, well, a truly fascinating journey, I think. It's one that's really tailor-made for anyone looking to not just sharpen their English speaking skills, but, to master the art of data description, especially if you're preparing for that pivotal IELTS exam.
That's right. Our mission today really is to demystify a very specific and, often challenging part of the test, the IELTS Speaking Section 3. We're going to sort of pull back the curtain on how to describe visual data. We'll dissect sample answers to really see what works, unravel key vocabulary, and most importantly, help you grasp exactly what earns those higher band scores. Think of this as your secret weapon, maybe.
Absolutely. Forget feeling overwhelmed by graphs and charts. Think of this deep dive as your shortcut, your personal roadmap, if you will, to understanding the subtle nuances of language use in a high-stakes setting like IELTS. Our goal is to uncover those aha moments, the ones that can truly transform your responses, ensuring you don't just feel informed, but genuinely empowered by the insights we're about to share. It's about turning, confusion into confidence.
And we've got some fantastic source material to guide us today. We'll be working with a compelling pie chart detailing Germany's energy consumption, complete with sample answers across different band levels.
Excellent.
But it's not just about the chart itself. We'll be strategically weaving in some powerful, sophisticated vocabulary, words that won't just help you ace the IELTS, but will elevate your overall English communication in, pretty much any context.
That sounds brilliant. So if you're ready to get incredibly well-informed, unlock some linguistic power-ups, and truly boost your IELTS game, maybe grab a pen and paper. You could even pause this occasionally to practice out loud. And let's dive into this deep dive. This is where the real learning begins.
Let's do it.
Am I?
Deep dive into IELTS Speaking Task 1, Germany's energy consumption. First example.
Okay, so to kick things off, let's jump straight into our first scenario. The task is a classic IELTS Part 3 question, asking you to analyze and interpret visual data. Specifically, you'd be asked to describe changes in Germany's energy consumption between 2010 and 2020. This is exactly the kind of question where examiners aren't just looking for numbers, but for how well you can articulate the story those numbers tell.
Precisely. The core challenge here isn't merely listing percentages or, categories. It's constructing a coherent narrative. It's about demonstrating your ability to spot the main overarching trends before you delve into the specifics.
Right, the big picture first.
Exactly. That big picture first approach is, it's a fundamental skill for any data description task, really. Whether it's for an exam, a business report, or explaining a complex topic to a colleague, it ensures your overall message is intelligible. That is, clear, easy to understand, and logical for your listener. That's key.
You've hit on a crucial point there. The examiner isn't just listening for correct facts, are they? They're assessing your ability to structure an argument, to use language, to tell a clear, concise story. So let's hear how different band scores handle this exact question. We'll start at a band 6, then climb up to 7 and 8, really highlighting the progression. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan. Let's hear the band 6 first.
Okay, first, here's a sample answer that would typically achieve a band 6 for this type of question. Listen closely for the vocabulary and the structure. Reads, Band 6 sample answer. In general, the way Germany got its energy changed a lot from 2010 to 2020. The use of solar and wind power went up a lot, but the use of coal and natural gas went down. The biggest change was with coal power, which dropped significantly. This shows that Germany is using more green energy now.
Okay. My initial thought on this Band 6 answer is that it's definitely intelligible. You understand it.
Yeah, that's clear.
The main points come across, and it's easy to follow. However, the language is, it's quite simple and direct. Phrases like went up a lot or went down are very common everyday phrases, and while they convey the information, they don't really go beyond the surface level. It lacks a bit of variety.
Yeah.
Which can sometimes make a response feel a bit monotonous, which just means dull and repetitive, lacking variety.
Right. It gets the job done, but doesn't particularly impress or showcase a wide range of language skills. Now, let's listen to a Band 7 response for the same data. You should immediately hear a noticeable difference in the sophistication and the fluency.
Okay.
Reads, Band 7 sample answer. Overall, there was a significant shift in Germany's energy consumption patterns over the decade. Renewable sources like solar and wind power witnessed a notable increase, while fossil fuel use declined. Specifically, coal saw a marked decrease, and natural gas also fell. This trend indicates a growing reliance on renewable energy sources.
Right. You can immediately hear the improvement there.
Definitely.
The speaker uses more natural discourse markers. These are, words and phrases that help organize and connect ideas, making your speech flow smoothly.
Like signposts.
Exactly, like signposts for your listener. Things like overall specifically. And the vocabulary is more precise. Words like significant shift or witnessed a notable increase. They already elevate the response. It moves away from that simple everyday language towards a more, maybe, academic tone.
I can definitely feel the difference. It sounds much more fluent, more organized. And now, for our aspiring high scorers, the Band 8 example, this is where linguistic mastery really starts to, well, shine.
Okay, the top tier.
Here we go. Reads Band 8 sample answer. To a large extent, the data highlights a fundamental transformation in Germany's energy sector between 2010 and 2020. The exponential growth of solar and wind power was mirrored by a precipitous decline in coal and natural gas use. Ultimately, this underscores a clear shift towards sustainable energy alternatives.
Well, okay. Here, we're seeing truly sophisticated language.
Yeah.
Notice the complex grammatical structures, the academic tone, and those advanced collocations, words that naturally go together. It really elevates the description to an analytical level. It's not just describing what happened, but interpreting its broader meaning and impact. This answer uses vocabulary that allows for highly nuanced expression, showing not just what changed, but how dramatically or how fundamentally it changed.
Okay, that was a fantastic demonstration of the progression through the bands. Now, let's unpack some of this incredible vocabulary we just heard, not just by defining the words, but by exploring their impact and, why they make such a difference in your band score. This is where we uncover some real aha moments, I think.
Absolutely. This is crucial. We'll go through the terms, explaining not just their meaning, but also their power and context. Let's start with that Band 7 answers opening. Overall, there was a significant shift. What does overall do there?
Right. Overall, it introduces a general summary or conclusion, doesn't it? It's like stepping back and looking at the big picture before you dive into all the tiny details.
Precisely. It signals to the examiner, okay, I'm about to give you the main headline, demonstrating good control of structure. It sets the stage perfectly. Now, consider significant shift. This isn't just big change. Significant means important or meaningful. And shift implies a noticeable movement or alteration. Together, they create a stronger, more academic expression. Much better than changed a lot.
I see. It's more precise. So if I were to say something was striking, like maybe a striking increase, what does that add?
Good one. Striking means it's very noticeable or impressive. It's something that really catches your attention, something that strikes you immediately as important or unusual.
Got it. Adds emphasis.
Exactly. And similarly, dramatic, like a dramatic fall. That describes a sudden, significant, and often impressive change. It suggests a rapid and notable alteration, something with a big impact.
Okay. And we heard witnessed a notable increase. What about notable?
Notable means worthy of attention or notice. It's a step up from just an increase that signals importance. So, witnessed a notable increase sounds more formal and highlights the importance of the growth.
I love how these words paint a clearer picture. Now, in the Band 8 response, we heard, to a large extent. What does that phrase do?
To a large extent. That means mostly, or to a great degree. It sort of covers a big part of an idea, a large portion of the overall picture. It's a sophisticated way to qualify your statement, showing you're not making an absolute claim, but acknowledging it's largely true, shows nuance.
Right, it's not black and white. And then a fundamental transformation. That sounds really significant.
It is powerful. Fundamental means very basic or essential, the core. And transformation is a complete change. So a fundamental transformation isn't just a small tweak, it's a deep core and complete change in the very nature of something. A brilliant collocation for major shifts.
Wow, so instead of just things changed, you're saying the very foundations were remade. That's a huge difference.
Exactly.
And then exponential growth. I remember that from math class. Does it mean the same thing here?
Pretty much. It means extremely rapid growth, like a curve that gets steeper and steeper. It implies something is growing at an accelerating rate, faster and faster.
Okay, so really, really fast growth.
Precisely. It's a specific term indicating that kind of accelerating growth. And this growth was mirrored by a decline. What does mirrored suggest?
Mirrored, like a mirror image. So as one thing went up really fast, another went down in a similar corresponding way.
Exactly. It means reflected or copied something else. So as renewables grew exponentially, fossil fuels declined sharply, almost like a mirror image. It beautifully connects two contrasting trends, showing you see the relationship.
That's a fantastic image. It shows a deeper understanding, not just listing facts. And precipitous decline. That sounds quite intense.
It is. Precipitous comes from precipice, the edge of a cliff. So precipitous decline is a very sudden and steep fall, almost like falling off a cliff.
Wow.
It's far stronger than went down a lot or even dropped significantly. It conveys a sense of rapid, possibly uncontrolled, and very significant reduction.
That's so vivid. It adds so much more meaning and impact.
It does. It's an aha moment word because it shows you're not just reporting data, you're interpreting its scale, its severity.
Right. And then the Band 8 response concluded with, ultimately, this underscores a clear shift. Let's break down ultimately and underscores.
Okay. Ultimately means finally, or in the end. It signals you're drawing a final conclusion from the evidence presented. And underscores means it emphasizes or highlights something important, like you'd underline a word in text to make it stand out. So the trend emphasizes or highlights the shift.
Got it. So those words tie everything together neatly and emphasize the main takeaway.
Exactly. They show the examiner you can build a cohesive argument and draw strong conclusions. Now you'll notice we just went through vocabulary and implicitly we've started talking about why these words matter for your score, which brings us directly to the IELTS assessment criteria. Understanding these is, well, step one to unlocking higher bands.
Let's break those down then. Fluency and coherence first.
Right. Fluency and coherence. This is all about how smoothly and logically your ideas flow. At band 6, you might hear simple connectors like and or but. The flow is okay, generally understandable, but it can feel a bit, maybe, disjointed. The ideas don't always connect seamlessly, and there might be some hesitation.
Okay, understandable, but maybe a bit choppy.
Yeah. Then at band 7, the answers use more natural discourse markers, those connecting words and phrases we talked about, like overall, specifically, however. This helps organize ideas much better, making the speech sound more natural and way easier to follow. It guides the listener.
So smoother transitions, better signposting.
Exactly. And for band 8, you get a truly seamless flow. Sophisticated linking phrases like, to a large extent, ultimately, or in contrast, are used effortlessly. It shows a clear, logical progression of ideas. There are virtually no awkward pauses or repetitions just to fill time. It's very smooth.
Okay, next up, lexical resource or vocabulary.
Yes, lexical resource. This assesses the range, the accuracy, and the appropriateness of the words you choose. Band 6 typically relies on basic vocabulary. They went up a lot, went down. It's functional, you get your point across, but it lacks variety. You might use the same simple words again and again.
Right, limited range.
Band 7 starts to show more precise and less common words. For instance, significant shift or witnessed a notable increase. This is where your vocabulary starts to broaden, to expand beyond just everyday language.
Yeah.
You're showing a wider, more flexible range of words.
Okay, starting to stretch those vocab muscles.
You got it. And band 8 truly shines here. It demonstrates a wide range of sophisticated vocabulary. This includes excellent collocations, those natural word pairings like fundamental transformation, and even idiomatic expressions like precipitous decline or maybe meteoric rise. This allows for highly nuanced expression. You can convey very subtle differences in meaning with great precision. That's the ultimate lexical power-up.
Nuance, that's a key word there. Okay, third criterion, grammatical range and accuracy.
Right, grammatical range and accuracy. This looks at the variety of sentence structures you use and how correctly you use them. Band 6 answers are often dominated by simple sentence structures. While generally clear, there might be some minor grammatical errors that usually don't stop understanding, but they are noticeable.
Simple sentences, maybe a few small mistakes.
Yeah. Band 7 shows a good mix of simple and complex sentences. Think sentences with clauses, different conjunctions, and usually with pretty good accuracy. You're building more elaborate sentences without making too many mistakes, showing increasing control.
More complex sentences, mostly accurate.
Correct. And Band 8 exhibits consistent accuracy with a wide range of complex grammatical structures. This is where the speaker can handle intricate ideas with precision and confidence. They use grammar flexibly to express very specific relationships between ideas, and they do it flawlessly.
Wow. Consistent accuracy with complexity. And finally, pronunciation.
Pronunciation. Now, we can't hear it from the text, but it's crucial. Higher bands speak with greater clarity. This is supported by their fluency and precise word choice. Clear pronunciation goes hand in hand with effective communication. It ensures your sophisticated vocabulary and complex grammar are actually heard and understood without effort. It's not about sounding native necessarily, but about being consistently clear, easy to follow, using intonation and stress naturally to help convey meaning.
That's such a clear breakdown. Okay, so for you, the learner listening right now, here's what this all means in practical terms. Let's really break down what you should actively aim for at each level. So to get to Band 6, your answer is understandable, but it often lacks depth and variety. Why? Well, likely because it relies on basic, common phrases that don't really stretch your linguistic abilities. You're playing it safe, maybe. How do you improve? Your first priority is clarity. Focus on getting your main points across simply and directly. Don't worry yet about overly complex words. Clear, simple English is always better than attempting complicated words and making errors. Build that solid foundation first. Get the message across. Now, to reach Band 7, you're showing good structure, better vocabulary, and a more natural flow. Why? Because you're consciously using more academic phrases and a broader range of those discourse markers we mentioned, which makes your ideas connect more smoothly. How do you get there? Actively practice using those connecting words and phrases overall. Specifically, however, furthermore, in contrast. Also, challenge yourself. Use more specific verbs for describing change instead of just went up or went down. For example, instead of saying fossil fuels went down, you could say the shift to renewables can displace fossil fuels. Now, displace means to force something out of its usual place, often being replaced by something new. So renewables are displacing fossil fuels. See how that adds precision.
That's a great example. Adds a layer of meaning.
And finally, to hit Band 8, you're mastering truly sophisticated language, complex grammar, and showing real analytical depth. Why? Because you're able to use nuanced expressions and advanced structures accurately, conveying subtle meanings and complex relationships between ideas. This is the secret sauce for top scores. How do you achieve this? The ultimate power-up here is mastering collocations and idiomatic expressions. It's not just about knowing individual words, but knowing how words dance together naturally, like fundamental transformation or precipitous decline. Aim for precise, less common vocabulary and actively vary your sentence beginnings. Don't always start with "the data shows." Mix it up. Think about presenting your entire argument like a mini thesis. A thesis is a clear, well-structured, central idea or argument, right? So structure your answer where every point builds logically towards that central message. This demonstrates comprehensive command.
Excellent summary. It's about building those layers of skill.
Okay, I just want to quickly circle back to a specific phrase we heard earlier because it's subtle, but I think incredibly powerful for raising your score. It was, both solar and wind power saw considerable growth. That use of saw is interesting. What exactly does it mean here? We're not saying the power sources literally have eyes, are we?
No, definitely not. That's an excellent observation, though, and a perfect example of a sophisticated usage that often puzzles learners. In this context, saw means experienced or underwent. It's a more formal, academic, and quite an elegant way to attribute a change or a trend to an inanimate subject, like solar power or the market. It sounds much more sophisticated than simply saying solar power experienced growth or solar power showed growth. It makes your description more dynamic, almost personifying the data in a subtle way.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, a way to paraphrase it in my head is that solar and wind power experienced this significant increase. It sort of happened to them almost as if they were passive recipients of this trend or development.
Exactly. That's a great way to think about it. Grammatically, yes, saw is the simple past tense of to see. However, it's widely used with inanimate subjects, things that cannot physically see, like solar power, the market, the company, the country, or even the decade. The structure is consistently inanimate subject plus saw plus the event or change it experienced.
Can you give a couple more examples?
Sure. The stock market saw a rapid decline last month, meaning it experienced a rapid decline. Or the company saw a rise in profits last quarter, meaning it experienced a rise. You can even use it for broader periods. The 20th century saw many technological advancements, meaning it witnessed these advancements happen within that time frame.
Ah, I see.
It's a fantastic way to elevate your description of trends. It shows a broader lexical range and a more formal academic tone, both absolutely crucial for those higher bands. It's a key collocation for data description tasks.
That's a serious upgrade to simply saying, "it happened." Thanks for clarifying that. So, for our listener, particularly those maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this detail, how do you even begin to construct these kinds of nuanced answers, especially under exam pressure? Let's map out a simple, repeatable process for someone maybe just starting out with this type of task.
Yes, this is absolutely crucial because it's about building a solid foundation and a systematic way to approach these tasks. It breaks down the complexity to manageable steps. Step 1. Deconstruct the question and identify overall trends. Why? This is your absolute starting point. You have to carefully read the question and analyze the data, the pie chart, in our case, to understand exactly what you're asked to describe. What's the topic? What's the time period? What's the subject? Any misinterpretation here can completely derail your answer. How? Look at the chart and ask yourself, what is the big story here? What's the most obvious overarching change? What went up the most? What went down the most? If you can't immediately spot the main trend, maybe compare the totals for big categories, like fossil fuels versus renewables. This initial overview helps ensure your overall message is intelligible, clear, and easy to grasp for your listener. That's fundamental. Take a moment to truly traverse the data, to journey across and through the information, getting a feel for the landscape before you speak.
Okay, understand the task, find the main story.
Got it.
Step 2.
Step 2. Formulate your main ideas. Why? This gives your answer a clear, logical structure. Without main ideas, your response can quickly become just a disorganized jumble of facts, which really hurts your coherence score. How? Based on the overall trend you identified in Step 1, come up with maybe 2 or 3 key points. For our energy chart, that might be 1, the decline of fossil fuels, and 2, the rise of renewables. Ask yourself simply what went up and what went down. If you only see one truly significant change, focus on that single most impactful development, like the dramatic drop in coal. This provides a clear, digestible framework for your response, 2 or 3 key messages.
Structure it around the key changes. Makes sense. Step 3.
Step 3. Add specific details and support. Why? To make your claims credible, precise, and persuasive. General statements without evidence are weak. They don't demonstrate a deep understanding of the data provided. How? Now, you bring in the numbers from the chart. Use specific data points, percentages, exact figures if given, or years to support each main idea you formulated in Step 2. For instance, you could say, coal dropped from 40% to 25%, or solar doubled from 15% to 30%. Don't just list the numbers. Use phrases that show you're analyzing them, like rising to, falling by, or accounting for. If you can't remember the exact numbers under pressure, use approximations like almost doubled or fell by roughly half. These factual details, based on verifiable evidence from the chart, are essential. They demonstrate your ability to interpret real-world information, and it moves your description beyond mere conjecture, which is just an opinion or guess formed on incomplete information. Stick to the facts presented.
Back up your points with data. Crucial. Step 4.
Step 4. Use cohesive devices and varied language. Why? To make your answer flow naturally and smoothly. This is absolutely key for fluency and coherence. A choppy or repetitive answer is difficult for an examiner to follow and indicates a limited linguistic range. How? Actively use those connecting words and phrases, your discourse markers, like to begin with, likewise, however, in contrast, or furthermore. They link your ideas. Beyond just connectors, focus on varying your vocabulary. You want to broaden your lexical range to expand your word choices beyond the simple terms. Instead of always saying increased, try rose, grew, witnessed growth, or saw an increase. Using a variety helps you avoid being monotonous and truly showcases your range.
Link ideas smoothly and use different words.
Yeah.
Good. And the last step.
Step 5. Conclude briefly with an insight. Why? To wrap up your answer with a final, impactful thought. This shows a broader understanding and leaves a lasting impression on the examiner. It demonstrates analytical thinking, not just descriptive ability. You're showing you understand the implications. How? Briefly reflect on the overall takeaway or the implication of the data. What does this trend suggest? Why might these changes be happening? For energy data, it often relates to environmental concerns, government policies, technology costs, things like that. You could even offer a brief projection, an estimate, or prediction of a future situation based on the current data you've just described. For example, this change clearly shows a move toward more sustainable policies, which will likely continue in the coming years. A short, insightful closing sentence.
Excellent. That's a brilliantly structured approach. This systematic process can really help you traverse the data, travel across and through it with confidence and clarity. It makes your response much more organized and impactful, especially under pressure. It's like a roadmap to success.
Exactly. And thinking about this broad shift in Germany's energy consumption, it really highlights the global trend, doesn't it? It's almost as if countries are becoming more frugal with their energy resources.
Yeah.
You know, frugal means being thrifty and economical,
Right.
careful with resources.
Right, not wasting them.
Yeah. By opting for renewables, opting means making a conscious choice from a range of possibilities. They're strategically reducing waste. Often this choice is driven by environmental concerns, but also increasingly by economics.
That makes perfect sense. And sometimes when we discuss why these shifts are happening, maybe some of our explanations might still be conjecture, right? Like an opinion or conclusion formed on incomplete information. We might guess it's policy, but without more data, it's still a guess. So conjecture is like an educated guess.
Indeed. It's important to distinguish between describing the data and speculating on the causes. What's factual, however, what's based on verifiable evidence from the data, is that governments and citizens increasingly opt for different energy sources. They make that choice. And then how effectively governments dispense energy, how they distribute or provide it to people and industries, that becomes a huge part of the policy discussions that follow. Dispense means to distribute or supply.
Right, getting the energy to where it's needed.
Exactly. It's about ensuring equitable access and efficient delivery, which is a complex challenge in itself.
So ultimately, an IELTS answer, especially in part 3, needs to present a coherent argument, almost like a mini thesis, a main argument or central idea that is well supported by the data you've just described. Even if you also acknowledge some conjecture about the motivations behind the trends, it's all about showcasing your linguistic ability to handle these complex topics clearly.
Well put. I'll look at use here in the IELTS speaking task too. Germany's energy consumption. Second example.
Okay, let's build on that foundation now and shift gears slightly. We're going to look at another take on describing similar data, still Germany's energy consumption between 2010 and 2020. But this second example provides even richer vocabulary and, I think, more sophisticated analytical approaches. This isn't just a repeat, it's about seeing how you can elevate your language even further, adding more tools to your toolbox.
That's right. This really demonstrates that there are many distinct ways to describe the same essential data. And the goal isn't just to be correct, but to demonstrate your range and precision in language. It proves your command of English across different contexts. It's about having options and choosing the most impactful ones for the situation.
Exactly. Having a deep arsenal of vocabulary and structures allows for much greater flexibility and nuance. So let's hear another Band 6 sample answer for this task. Compare it in your mind to the previous Band 6 and crucially to the higher bands that will follow. See if you can already spot where it could be improved.
Okay, another Band 6 baseline.
Reads Band 6 sample answer. The figures show big changes in how people used energy from 2010 to 2020. The use of solar and wind energy went up a lot, but coal and natural gas went down. For example, solar power became much more popular, rising from 15% to 30%. Also, wind power use increased by 10%. On the other hand, coal power use had the biggest drop, falling from 40% to 25%. Natural gas also dropped. This shows a major change towards cleaner energy.
Okay, again, straightforward. Much like our first Band 6 example. It clearly communicates the main changes, which is, the primary goal at this level. But as you listen again, the language can feel a bit repetitive, maybe even monotonous again. That means dull and lacking in variety.
Yeah, went up a lot, dropped.
Exactly. Phrases like went up a lot and dropped are used multiple times without much lexical variation. This limits the speaker's score because it doesn't demonstrate a broad enough vocabulary. Still intelligible, but not very sophisticated.
That repetitive phrasing definitely stands out when you're listening critically. Okay, now, listen to the Band 7 answer for this second scenario. Pay close attention to the more sophisticated word choices and how the sentence structures become more varied and interconnected.
Let's hear the step up.
Reads Band 7 sample answer. The data highlights a considerable shift in energy consumption between 2010 and 2020, moving away from fossil fuels towards renewable sources. While solar and wind power both experienced substantial growth, the use of coal and natural gas contracted. Notably, coal-fired power, once the primary energy source, saw its share decline sharply, dropping from 40% to 25%. Similarly, natural gas consumption also decreased. This pattern underscores a clear trend towards more sustainable energy options.
Right, much better.
Yeah.
We're seeing better lexical choices and collocations here. Terms like considerable shift and verbs like contracted, meaning became smaller or shorter, are more precise and academic than just went down.
Contracted is a good one.
Yeah. The speaker also uses notably and similarly to link ideas more effectively, showing good control over fluency and coherence. The language is more academic, moving away from the everyday expressions of the Band 6 answer. And it introduces some more complex grammatical structures, like that dependent clause starting with while solar and wind power.
You can really hear the improved flow and the elevated tone there. Okay, and now for Band 8 again. Prepare yourself for, an impressive display of linguistic mastery. This isn't just good, it's genuinely compelling language use.
All right, benchmark.
Reads Band 8 sample answer. The given statistics portray a pronounced evolution in energy consumption patterns from 2010 to 2020, with a distinct pivot towards sustainable alternatives. Specifically, solar and wind power witnessed meteoric rises in usage, whereas reliance on coal and natural gas waned considerably. The most precipitous drop was observed in coal-fired power, which fell from a dominant 40% to 25%, marking a sea change in energy preference. This trend epitomizes a global paradigm shift towards greener energy.
Okay, yeah. This answer is truly advanced. It employs a range of idiomatic expressions and high-level vocabulary to portray meaning, to describe or show something in a particular vivid way, a very sophisticated understanding of the data.
Portray, nice.
Phrases like pronounced evolution, distinct pivot, meteoric rises, waned considerably, precipitous drop, and sea change. These demonstrate an exceptional lexical resource. The grammar is complex and accurate. The flow is perfectly seamless. It's not just stating facts, it's interpreting them with nuanced and powerful language, showcasing a deep command of English.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because now we're going to dive into the specifics of this second set of vocabulary. These aren't just synonyms, they're power words. They can transform your descriptions and provide those aha moments that make your responses truly stand out from the crowd.
Indeed. These words allow for much more precise and impactful communication. They make your descriptions both accurate and engaging, and they move you firmly into those higher bands. Let's break them down. First, pronounced evolution. We heard pronounced means very noticeable or marked, something that really stands out. And evolution suggests a gradual development. So a pronounced evolution indicates a significant, clear development over time. More sophisticated than just big change.
Okay, clear and significant development. Next.
Distinct pivot. Distinct means clearly different or separate. A pivot is a shift or change in direction, like a basketball player suddenly changing direction on the court. So a distinct pivot means a very clear and obvious change in direction or focus. Great for showing a deliberate shift in strategy or policy.
Like turning a corner. Got it.
Then, meteoric rises. We touched on meteoric before happening very fast and suddenly like a meteor. So meteoric rises signifies extremely rapid and dramatic increases, adds that sense of speed and intensity.
Very fast, very sudden. Okay, what about waned considerably?
Waned. To wane means to decrease in power, intensity, or size. Think of the moon waning as it gets smaller in the sky after the full moon. When something waned considerably, it means it significantly and noticeably decreased or faded. It's a beautiful, less common verb for decline.
That's a lovely image, the moon waning. More poetic than went down.
Exactly. Then precipitous drop. Again, precipitous means extremely steep or sudden, like falling from a precipice or cliff. A precipitous drop implies an abrupt and drastic fall. Reinforces that idea of a sharp, sudden decline.
Okay, same idea as precipitous decline. Very steep fall. And sea change. That sounds big.
It is. It's a fantastic idiom. A sea change means a profound or notable transformation. It's as big and fundamental as the change from land to sea. It signifies a massive shift in attitude, approach, or situation. A high-level idiom for a major, fundamental transformation.
Wow, a sea change. That's memorable. What about epitomizes?
Great verb. To epitomize means to serve as a perfect example of something. The epitome is the perfect example, representing the very essence of it. So if a trend epitomizes a shift, it's the perfect representation or embodiment of that shift.
So like this trend is the perfect example of the bigger picture.
Precisely. And finally, paradigm shift. This is another powerful collocation often used in academic or business contexts. A paradigm shift is a fundamental change in approach or underlying assumptions. It's a new way of thinking or doing things that replaces an old one. A big change in the established model or way of understanding something.
Okay, a fundamental change in thinking or approach. Wow. I can already tell how much stronger and more articulate these words make the descriptions. Instead of just big change, we have pronounced evolution or sea change or paradigm shift. That's a huge step up. Let's really drill down now into how using these types of words and structures helps differentiate the bands. Let's focus on the nuances we've picked up, going beyond the basic definitions of the criteria.
Right. Let's look at how these more advanced sample answers demonstrate mastery within those criteria we discussed earlier. So, for fluency and coherence, while Band 6 answers might feel a bit monotonous or repetitive because they lack variety and linking ideas, Band 7 uses a broader range of discourse markers effectively. Think while, notably, similarly. This demonstrates better control over the flow, making the speech more natural and easier to follow. They connect complex ideas better.
Smoother connections.
And Band 8, truly seamless. The responses we heard managed to connect complex ideas and phrases without any apparent effort. highly coherent, easy to follow, even with intricate details. There's a natural rhythm, pauses are for emphasis, not hesitation. The speaker anticipates their next point and transitions flawlessly. Then, lexical resource, vocabulary. Band 6 uses basic terms like went up a lot, indicating a narrow range. Band 7 introduces more varied vocabulary like considerable shift, contracted, substantial growth. You're starting to use less common words accurately, showing you can broaden your vocabulary beyond the everyday.
Expanding the word bank.
Exactly. Band 8 is where it excels. Phrases like pronounced evolution, distinct pivot, meteoric rises, waned considerably, sea change. These are not only precise, but also less common and highly impactful. This vocabulary is far from superficial. Superficial means shallow, just on the surface. This vocabulary is deep, thorough, showing nuanced understanding. They know not just words, but the right collocations and idioms that elevate the language, and grammatical range and accuracy. Band 6 typically uses simple sentences, maybe with basic conjunctions. Some minor errors might pop up. Band 7 incorporates a mix of simple and more complex sentences, generally accurately. They're experimenting successfully with more varied structures, showing developing control. Band 8 exhibits a wide range of complex structures, used accurately and flexibly to express nuanced ideas. Critically, speakers at this level never distort the information. Distort means to misrepresent the facts or ideas. Their grammar is consistently controlled and enhances their complex expressions. It doesn't hinder them. Accuracy is key alongside complexity.
Fantastic. So for you, our dedicated learner, here's more targeted advice. Let's really emphasize the actions you can take to move up those band scores, building on what we just heard. If you're aiming for band 6 and struggling with monotony, your answer is understandable, yes, but it risks being monotonous, dull, and repetitive without sufficient variety. Why? Likely because of a limited lexical range and simpler structures that don't allow for much linguistic flair. How can you fix this? Consciously vary your sentence beginnings. Don't always start with "the data shows" or "solar power." Try starting with a phrase like "in contrast to" or "looking at the period." Also, actively build a mental bank of synonyms instead of just "went up." Practice using rose, increased, grew, experienced growth. This immediate variety breaks the monotony, makes your speech more engaging. Now, to climb to band 7, moving beyond basic description. You're showing good progression, more varied language. Why? Because you're actively using a wider range of words for change and comparison, making your description more dynamic. How do you solidify this? Go beyond simple synonyms. Study collocations and specific phrases for describing trends and comparisons. Practice using phrases like "in stark contrast" or "significant divergence" to create a clear difference between trends rather than just saying "but this went down." Make sure your comparisons are not superficial, remember, that means shallow or not very thorough. Delve into the meaning, highlight meaningful differences and relationships in the data. And for the pinnacle, Band 8, Mastering Advanced Analysis. You're demonstrating deep analytical understanding and mastering sophisticated language. Why? Because you're effectively using high-level collocations and idioms accurately, showing a rich vocabulary that sounds precise and sophisticated. How do you reach this level? Continuous active learning is key. Actively learn and practice using idiomatic language and complex grammatical structures accurately. Don't just learn a word, learn how it fits into sentences, which words it naturally pairs with. Crucially, always ensure your statements are factual based on verifiable evidence from the chart so you don't distort the data or misrepresent it with errors or misinterpretations. Precision, credibility, high command of English. That's the goal. That's the pathway. It requires conscious effort and practice.
It really does. It's not just about what words to use, but how to use them with intent and precision. Okay, let's look at a slightly different, perhaps even more comprehensive thinking process for tackling this kind of descriptive task. Building on everything we've learned, this isn't just a beginner's guide anymore, it's about refining your strategy for those higher scores. Exactly. This refined process ensures you cover all bases and build that strong, coherent response that maximizes your score. It helps you navigate complexity and articulate insights effectively. Step 1. Deconstruct the question and data for depth. Why? Still the starting point, but now with a more critical eye. You're not just reading, you're deconstructing the question and the visual data to understand every nuance. Any missed detail can limit your analysis later. How? Identify main trends, up, down, stable. But also ask, what are the most significant changes? Are there any outliers? What exactly is the time period? Pay close attention to units, labels. This detailed deconstruction prevents a superficial understanding. Remember, superficial means shallow, just scratching the surface. Go deeper.
Dig into the details right from the start.
Okay. Step 2. Formulate a powerful general overview. Why? To start strong, with an encompassing summary that captures the big picture immediately. This instantly signals to the examiner that you grasped the main point and demonstrates strong fluency and coherence. How? Begin with a general statement summarizing the main trend or the most pronounced evolution without diving into numbers yet. Think of it like a compelling thesis statement for your mini presentation. Phrases like, "The data highlights a considerable shift," or "Overall, the figures portray a distinct pivot," work beautifully here. Set the scene powerfully.
Start with a strong headline summary. Got it.
Step 3. Identify and group key trends and counter trends. Why? To structure your thoughts clearly into categories decreases stability. This prevents your answer from becoming a messy list of disconnected facts and allows for elegant comparisons later. How? Separate your points logically. Which sources saw significant growth? Solar, wind. Which saw a decline? Coal, natural gas. What was the primary source, meaning the main or most important one at the beginning versus the end? Look for the most impactful changes to prioritize in your discussion. Group similar trends.
Organize the key movements logically. Makes sense.
Step 4. Integrate precise details with analytical language. Why? To make your description precise, credible, and engaging. Generalizations without solid data are weak. This is where you bring your lexical resource and accuracy to bear. How? Now bring in the numbers. Use specific data points, percentages, figures, years to support each key trend. Solar power increased from 15% to 30%. But don't just list, use verbs and adverbs that add depth. Solar power witnessed a meteoric rise from 15% to 30%. Ensure these details are factual based on verifiable evidence from the chart so you never distort the data. Use the language to analyze, not just state.
Use numbers accurately and use strong vocabulary to describe them.
Right. Step 5. Master comparison and contrast for nuance. Why? To show deeper understanding and make your answer flow seamlessly. Simply listing facts isn't enough for high scores. Showing relationships and differences between them is key. How? Actively use comparison and contrast phrases. In stark contrast, while, whereas, however, similarly, on the other hand. Think of that seesaw analogy, one goes up as another goes down. Avoid making comparisons superficial, shallow, or obvious. Delve into the meaning of those differences. For instance, the exponential growth of renewables was mirrored by a precipitous decline in fossil fuels. That highlights a reciprocal relationship, showing deeper insight.
Show the connections and differences meaningfully. Okay, final step.
Wow. Step 6. Conclude with a thought-provoking reflection or interpretation. Why? To end with an analytical thought, demonstrating you've processed the data, not just described it. This shows higher-level thinking and leaves a strong final impression. It answers the so what question, how? Briefly reflect on the broader implications. What does this trend suggest about the future? Why might these changes be happening? Environmental concerns, economics, technology? This is where new questions might arise, meaning emerge or appear. You might briefly consider future directions. It's about letting your psyche, your mind, or spirit connect with the broader meaning and implications of the data. Show genuine engagement with the topic.
End with a brief reflection on the bigger picture. Excellent. That systematic approach truly helps ensure you don't miss key elements and can confidently build a robust, well-supported answer, even under pressure. It's like having a mental checklist for excellence.
Absolutely. And practicing these steps consistently will undoubtedly nourish your speaking skills. Nourish here means to provide with the necessary elements for growth and health, like feeding a plant.
Nice analogy.
It's a deliberate process that helps you avoid that monotonous delivery, ensures your answer isn't superficial, and empowers you to articulate complex ideas with precision and confidence. Outro.
Wow, what an absolutely incredible deep dive into IELTS Speaking Section 3. We've covered so much ground. 2 detailed examples of describing data. We meticulously broke down the critical differences between bands 6, 7, and 8 answers, explored a wealth of invaluable vocabulary, and walked through those sophisticated step-by-step thinking processes that can truly transform your approach. I feel like I learned a lot.
Me too. Our overarching goal today was really to empower you, the listener, to equip you with not just the tools, but the understanding to analyze data effectively, and to articulate your responses with greater precision and confidence. You should now have a clearer grasp of the why and how behind achieving higher IELTS scores, not just what to say. We've shown how language can be a powerful instrument for analysis.
We genuinely hope this deep dive has given you some incredible aha moments, those light bulb flashes showing you exactly how to broaden your vocabulary, how to make your arguments intelligible and deeply coherent, and crucially, how to avoid a monotonous or superficial presentation. Remember, clear, varied, and well-structured language is your absolute key to success here.
So as we conclude this particular journey, here's maybe a provocative thought for you to carry forward. The energy charts we discussed today, they're just snapshots in a much larger evolving story. How will the ongoing global energy paradigm shift, that fundamental change in approach, continue to reshape our world in the coming decades? And maybe what other data might help us predict the next major pivot, that next significant change in direction in this critical sector? These are the kinds of real-world connections that elevate your language and thinking beyond the exam itself.
Ooh, that's a great question to ponder. Keep thinking, keep connecting, keep practicing, everyone. Keep applying these strategies to new data sets you find, and keep exploring the world through the lens of language. You can always revisit this deep dive anytime to reinforce your learning. Repetition and consistent application are truly your best friends on this linguistic journey.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on this in-depth exploration of IELTS preparation. We truly hope you feel more confident, more prepared, and better equipped to tackle those challenging speaking tasks.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.